Start going through your family history.
All right.
So why don't you just tell me your full name, where you were born, and when?
Okay, my name is Gloria Anita Shelton
What's
Rubbo.
your maiden name? Right.
Yes, Shelton Tillman Rubbo.
Right. Those are all your
Those are all my married names.
through the years.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll start with Shelton first. So you were born, and then so why don't you tell us who your parents were then?
My mother was Ralph and Grace Shelton, and we lived on a mill village in the south. We lived in a town called Shelby, between Waco and
Yeah, tell. That's what we want to hear. The details of where you lived. Yeah.
Yeah, we lived in. I was born in Shelby, but then we moved to Cherryville later on when I was a teenager.
Okay.
And we lived in mill village houses. That was part of the thing. If you worked for the mills, they gave you a house to live in. That was part of your pay.
Gotcha.
So.
And that's where your mother worked, or your father?
That's where my mother and my father. My mother was a inspector, inspected cloth for flaws. They made cloth in the mills.
Okay.
And my father ran the slasher. I don't know what that was, but he ran that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they work at the same place?
They both worked at the same place. And we had a little dog named Prissy.
Okay.
And Prissy walked them to work every morning from our house on West Church Street and waited for them to go in. And then when they came home at night, I don't know how Prissy knew
they were coming?
But Prissy was there waiting for him to walk them home at
That's
night.
Funny.
It's cute, isn't he?
Yeah.
Prissy was a cute dog.
So how long you lived there till you were a teenager?
Yes, I went to high school in Cherryville High School, and I was once Miss Cherryville.
Right.
And I was in the parade, in a convertible.
Nice.
And all that stuff.
Were you in the newspaper?
Yep, and pictures in the newspaper and stuff like that. In fact, that was pretty prestigious back in our day.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Something good to get to do. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, and what about brothers and sisters?
Oh, yes, I had an older sister, Dean.
Yep.
You know Aunt Dean?
Yep.
And an older brother, Neil.
Okay.
And a younger sister, Carol.
All right. And
me. There were 4 of us.
Gotcha. So
right.
You got a nice big family, huh?
Big family, right.
So was that part of the reason you moved when you were a teenager, because your family was getting bigger, or was it just a job change, or what?
Well, it's a job change.
Okay.
Whatever had to do with the job, because well, once my dad got fired from his job, and I thought we were going to have to move to Charlottesville, Virginia, because my dad lost his job.
What was
my mother still had her job, but
what was in Virginia that you thought you were another job?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had found another job in Virginia. We were planning to move there.
Okay.
And I was going to have to leave my schools and my friends and all. I wasn't happy about that. And then the job fell through and we didn't go, so that was great. We stayed on in Cherryville.
It was great for you. Your dad was probably a little bummed.
My dad went back to work for them. They rehired him.
Okay.
My father was like to have a drink once in a while.
Oh, okay, so that's what he got fired for?
I don't really know what he got fired for.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me that.
It must not have been too crazy, because they took him back, right?
They took him back, so it must not have been too bad, I guess. Anyway, so we stayed on. We lived in a house right on the curve, and Prissy would go down to the mill, was right up here, so she would go there and be waiting for him when they got out of work every day. I don't know how she knew it was time.
Right.
She knew.
So let's say now you're moving into Cherryville,
Right.
and then is that the house that's not the house that I knew though that Nana Papa lived in?
In Cherryville.
What's the one that they lived in that I would know about, like that they lived in?
Oh, that was the one in the country.
Yeah.
By Aunt Dean and Uncle
Yeah,
Richard's.
right. That's not where you lived.
Uncle
when you were
Richard
younger,
and Aunt Dean gave him that land, and they built it, and Uncle Rich built that house for Nan and Papa.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened.
That's how that happened, and they lived down the street from him.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that part, and I knew that they lived there. And I knew that house was newer. 'Cause
Right.
It looked newer.
Right.
But I just never knew the story about it.
Right. And so.
So before we get into that whole Tillman thing, let's stick with your family. So you moved to Cherryville, and
Yes.
then what? What about high school and stuff? You had a good time. You obviously were Miss Cherryville.
Right. I
Yeah,
had
we're
a
popular and-
good career. Yeah. In Cherryville, I was a reporter on their newspaper. I
Oh, really?
was a sneak reporter. Nobody knew who the reporter.
Now I know where I got
I
it
was
from.
called a snooper. I was called a snooper, and I told stories on everybody that nobody knew who did those.
Okay, so you were TMZ back in the day, right?
Right, back in the day.
And then, so when you graduated from high school, so was there any what was going on in the world during that time? Was there any real big events that would happen before you graduated? Like,
Well, we went to a Christmas parade in Charlotte, which is a big town compared to Cherryville.
yeah,
And they had a parade, and I got to ride in a convertible and be in the parade. All the little towns around there had
Yeah.
their representative,
right.
So that was fun. And
What year
quite
did
an
you
honor.
graduate?
I don't know. You have to look at my yearbook. I
What year
can't
were you
remember.
born?
1934.
Okay,
Right.
so probably 44, 54, so 53,
Yeah,
52, something
53,
like
I
that.
believe. 53 or 54, right.
Well,
So-
it must have not have been good. Well, my mom was born in 55, so that
Right.
should give you so probably 50.
Well, her dad moved. Well,
So let's not jump there yet.
Okay.
So you're about to. So you graduate from high school. What did you do when you graduated?
Well, I wanted to go to college, but I knew my folks couldn't afford the price, so
Okay.
I didn't do that. I just,
Did you have a job or anything? What was
worked.
your first job?
My first job was at Belk's
What's that?
department store,
Okay.
and I gave the boss the wrong change. I
You still
worked in
kept
the
your job
office
after that,
making
though?
change for everybody, and I gave him the wrong change, but he didn't fire me.
Well, that's good.
Right.
So that was your first job,
That was my first job, right.
and then so you're at some point you must have met my grandpa. I'm assuming, and that's when something must be happening there. What was going on in your life how did that, when you graduated, you would be working? What were you do? What would you do,
Yeah.
What was like a day in the life of Anita at that time?
Oh, well, I worked at Belk's, and I went to, I know my sister was married to Uncle Richard, and his nephew, Donald Tillman, was my first husband. I met him
That's how you
through
met
through
Grandpa Tillman?
my sister.
So
Yeah,
Dean married Uncle Richard. That's how it all started.
how
with
it
the
all
Tillmans.
started.
Okay.
And
Do you know
then-
how they met? Do you
I
remember?
know she was going, had friends. She went to Shelby High School,
Okay.
and she met him through that way, and he started hanging around our house. He really liked her, and
Okay.
so she started to like him back, and the rest is history.
Right.
Right.
So at some point,
And they
you got
were married
introduced-
so many years, and they lived on that beautiful farm and with that house with the porch across the front.
Yeah.
And my sister covered all those rocking chairs, so you could sit on their front porch and rock and look out across the land. It was beautiful there.
I remember that's like one of my favorite memories of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Just sitting on the porch, hanging out.
I know that. And Uncle Rich would always, he talked with his eyes closed sometimes, like your dad.
Yeah. Smoking a Pall Mall.
Yeah. His hair had yellow from nicotine.
Right. Yeah, he was definitely.
And he would close his eyes when he talked, and he'd fall off the porch sometime in his rocking chair.
I remember he used to lock me down in the cellar down below the house.
He used to tell my boys, Carrie remembers, he used to tell him if he didn't be good, he was going to take him to the black man's house. What was his name?
Oh,
He used to scare Carrie to death. He thought he was really going to take
That sounds like a southern thing to do.
Carrie had bad dreams over that. Yeah. Right.
So that's how you met Grandpa Tillman then.
Yes.
And then so how did that all? So you guys started dating?
We started dating. Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then we got married, and
You got married in North Carolina?
we got married here in my mother's living room, right? And my mother's friend, her pastor friend, married us. Reverend Hughes, who was our neighbor, and his son Henry gave me my first kiss.
Okay.
When
Came
I
full
was-
circle then, huh? From your first kiss to marrying you. The dad was involved in everything.
When I
Or the family.
was hiding outside when we were playing hide and go seek, he snuck up and kissed me.
How old were you then?
About 10 or
10,
something. Yeah. Right.
So you got married in North Carolina though?
Yeah, in my mother's living room.
And then so at some point
And then we decided that there were no jobs in Cherryville that your grandpa wanted. So we thought we'd move to Baltimore where my sister Carol lived.
Okay.
So we did that, and then he got a job at the still mill.
Okay.
And man, he hated that one most of all. And then he wanted to move back to North Carolina. So
He's like, this city ain't all it's cracked up to be, huh?
and that's what what we did. We moved to back to North Carolina, and he got his job back in Michigan here. He had worked for I forget what, he had a really good job downtown here, but he didn't get that one back.
Well, how did he? You said you moved to Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then when did you move to Michigan though? Because I thought you moved back to North Carolina after that, or no?
No. No, we moved back here. We moved to Baltimore, and Sharon was born.
Oh, so you came to Michigan first and then to Baltimore?
No, we came to Baltimore first.
And then to Michigan?
And Sharon was born in Baltimore.
Okay.
And it was a room with a bare light bulb where she was born. Spooky looking place.
Well, it
was
turned out
scary.
okay. So.
But what a sweet child she
Right,
always
exactly.
was, and still is.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so you moved back. You moved to Detroit at some point. That's where I'm kind of confused about how you ended up in Detroit. What was in Detroit?
Well, we
What
came
brought you
back
there?
to Detroit, and my mother-in-law, Don's mother, Grandma Treadway,
Yeah.
had a little house, and her brother was in it, living in it, and she made him move out so we could move into that house.
Oh, okay.
Aunt Jean and Uncle Roy.
So Grandma Treadway, she was from down south, or she?
Well,
lived
yeah,
down there before?
they lived in that house before we did. There, because Grandpa Tillman left all his kids a house and a land and a way to earn a living. That's how they were, and he had like about 8 sons or
Okay.
more.
So
Yeah.
you're talking about he left my grandpa's land and house?
Right.
And
right.
where was that house then? In North Carolina?
It was
Detroit?
beside a grocery store. They ran a grocery store there,
In North
a gas
Carolina?
station in North Carolina, and there was a house right beside it, and that's where I grew up.
Okay.
And my friend Mott lived right across the street from me, and we had so much fun living there always.
So that
was a good place to grow up. It
Yeah.
really was.
Okay, so Grandpa Tillman got a house from his father? That's what you're saying? You said the Tillman.
Grandpa Tillman left all his sons a house and a way to earn a living, and that's what they left for.
When you say Grandpa Tillman, though, whose grandpa is that? Like my grandpa, Don's dad, or Don's grandpa?
Dead, Clarence. Yeah,
Clarence.
Clarence,
Okay.
and he ran the gas. Ida and Clarence ran the gas station for a long time, and they lived in Cherryville
Oh, okay.
a long time. And during that time, I dated Don and married him. Right.
Yeah, and I know she had a rental house.
And in
I
the
think
meantime,
even
my
up here,
mother
right?
and my family had moved back to the country because Uncle Rich built the house for us.
Okay.
My sister Dean wanted them to be with them.
Right by them.
So they moved up in the country.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, that was great out there.
Yeah.
Just being able to walk right up to their house, and then
Right.
there was another Aunt Nora or something that lived across
Aunt
the
Nora
street.
lived
too.
right across the street, and when her husband was alive, they ran the gas station. That was right there when her husband was alive.
Yeah.
But he had died by the time we came back there to live.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
the gas station was closed then, and it always stayed closed after that.
All right. So now let's see. So now you're in Detroit, and you just moved to Detroit. You got Sharon.
I got Sharon, and then I had your mom
Okay.
2 years later.
And what was Grandpa Tillman doing at that time? And what were you a stay-at-home wife, or did you work at all?
Yeah,
Or?
I was a stay-at-home wife for as long as I could be, because I had 5 children altogether. You
Right.
know? And but then when we started having marital problems to get divorced, then I had to go to work. Or
Yeah.
I thought I did. I did go to work then.
Yep.
And your grandpa got shed of us, as he said.
Okay. So that was years later. So Grandpa Tillman, what was he doing at that time for work? When you were married and in Detroit, and my mom was born, and during all those times, what was his job?
I don't. Oh, he worked with Uncle Red.
Okay.
That was his Ida's family.
Okay.
Phil and Red, remember? And
No, I don't know them, but
well, anyway, she will remember, or they will remember.
yeah.
And he worked as a heating and plumbing. He learned
Okay.
how to do that. And but then we started having marital problems, and but we decided to move to Baltimore with my sister Carol
Yeah.
to see if he wanted, but didn't we? I already
Yeah,
said
you
that
already
one.
talked about that part.
Yeah.
So you had marital problems, and you guys decided to split up at some point. Then, so you had 5 kids before you started having problems. Well, before you decided to split up.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a time to wait, right? Because I had a hard time. I had to go to work, and they had to do everything. And my children, I had to kind of leave them on their own a lot,
Yeah.
because I had to go to work and everything and earn a living for us.
Right.
And we had scarce money. Carrie tells you funny stories about his having to shop for us. His Happy and Way pizzas he bought.
Yeah.
and how he hid food in the milk chute.
Okay. And that was in this house, right?
That was, we always, Don
Always
and I
there.
found this house. We lived in Grandma's house on, that she made Uncle Roy move out of. And
Yeah.
then we moved into this house. We bought this house, he and I. This was our first home, and I'm still here after all these years. How
Right.
many years is that?
That's a lot, huh?
It is. Wow.
How many years? Probably like 60 some years.
Yeah, because I'm,
Because my mom, basically as old as my mom almost, right?
yeah, your mom, and then Randy was born here, and Todd, and Carrie.
And even I lived here at one point.
So when you had trouble at home,
Yep.
you always thanked me for letting you come here to live.
Exactly. Yeah, you've saved me a few times,
Right.
so I appreciate that. All right, so let's see. So what kind of jobs did you have then? So,
I worked at Great Scott at the grocery store.
and you had like, I remember, because that was kind of when I was like young, and I remember you had a group of girlfriends that you worked with at the grocery store that you used to always hang out with.
Right,
Or it seemed like it
I
to me at
did.
least.
right. It was. I can't remember their names.
Diane and Irene. And
Oh, Diane and Irene. Those
Yeah.
were all from the grocery store.
Right, those are the ones I remember
Yeah.
for some reason.
And Jane. I used
Yeah.
Jane and Irene and Diane.
Yep.
And I even went, well, they moved to Florida when they retired. Jane went to Key West and Irene went to, where'd she go? Close to Disney World.
Okay.
Right there. So, I went to visit them a couple of times in the wintertime to get away from the cold.
Right. Because
Weather.
Diane lived across the street from us when I was
Right.
young, right? So that's how I remember her
You
a lot.
remember Diane?
My first, some experiences I had when I was young were in her backyard with some little girl from down the street.
Well, she came into my house one day without knocking or anything. I was in the bathroom, and I came out of the bathroom to meet her face to face in the hallway. I was so furious with her, I almost hit her. I said, Diane, you at least call a person or something.
Right.
You don't just appear in somebody's house.
Especially when you're in the bathroom and you just come out. That's going to be
know.
startling, huh?
That was very startling.
All right. So let's see. I had some questions that I looked up, so I thought I'd try some of them out on you.
All right.
So what about a vacation? Can you remember any vacation that was like really fun for you? Your favorite vacation of your life, whether you were older, younger?
Well, my favorite one was when I was a teenager with my friend Mott and Dean and Richard.
Okay.
We always went to the beach with them in the summertime in
What beach did you go to?
Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach?
Yeah,
Well, that's cool. That's a nice destination still.
right. And we used to go always every summer. We went to the mountains too.
Okay.
That
What-
was fun.
What
too.
mount?
Smoke the
The
Great
the one you were in,
Smokies.
basically.
Yeah, we had.
Would you go there and like stay for the weekend or something, or do you mean? you
Yeah,
just-
we would go, and I don't remember how we could stay, but we went on top of this one mountain. I remember, and the Indians would attack our train.
Oh, it's like not for real. It
and
was like
the-
part of the program or
The
whatever.
guy that was the Indian, it was a fake program. And the guy that was the Indian was the one that was voted the most likely to succeed in her class.
Well, he was doing all right. I guess he had a job, right?
He did, and he was a good Indian.
There you go. That's funny.
It is.
Why was that Why did you like that vacation? You just remember it a lot?
It was just funny and good.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
times.
just had a good time. Right. My best friend, Mott and Sarita, those two, we did fun things together always.
That's an interesting name, Mott.
And Tucker Blackwelder, we went. Her dad owned this cottage at the in the mountains somewhere that we used to go to.
Okay.
All us girls and her brother Dick Blackwelder used to come because he liked me. I found out later, but we didn't connect because I was dating your grandpa, I guess then.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Right.
You were taken though?
I was taken up. Right.
Not interested?
Not interested.
What, all right, so I get, we'll just keep kind of going through your life now. So, is there anything, what else do you want to talk about? What else do you want to talk about?
Well, let me think. What else?
We got to get to Grandpa, right? So that's the next, I guess.
Well, no, I don't want to get there yet. I
Okay.
want to talk about my growing up in Cherryville and all that.
Okay.
And,
what was it like back then growing up? Like, what did you guys do for fun, and what kind of school, how many kids were in your school?
it wasn't a very big school, but we voted on superlatives, who got the best stuff, like Grady Pope's most likely to succeed.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
And I was voted for the prettiest.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, that's where I get my good looks from then, huh?
Of course. Of course, Joey. What do you think?
You're right, exactly.
Right. And then, and still in Baltimore, when Sharon was born, I had to take the trolley into the doctor. That was a funny place to live. We didn't stay there very long because your grandpa did not like the job at the still mill. It was hot and sweaty, and
Yeah.
we didn't stay there that long. We moved back to Cherryville then.
What did your sister do there? How did she end up there?
My sister Dean or
Carolyn, how did she end up in Baltimore?
Carol. Oh, she married Kid Carpenter. She was only 13, I think. Really young.
Yeah.
Right. And she had 2 children, 2 daughters, Kathy and Vicky. Right. And they lived in Baltimore. And I would go to see them, to visit them in the summertime and when I had time.
Yeah.
But that was fun, and that's how we got the heck out of here. All kids grew up wanting to get out of their small town, don't you know? Can't wait till you come out to a big city or all the exciting stuff starts happening.
That's what you think, right?
Right.
And then you end up wanting to move back there when you get older. And
it's too bad you missed the boat.
Right. Well, or you find out that the city, Howell, it's not the small town it used to be anymore,
I know, it's grown pretty big now,
Yeah.
hasn't it? It's one of the bigger cities out that way.
Yep.
But they got some people that you don't like so much, right?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I didn't know what you meant at first, but I think I did.
I think you did.
So, let's see. What, so you wanted to, was there anything else you wanted to talk about your childhood? You said that maybe some of the other stuff growing up, or...
I can't think of anything all that much. I think of it when I'm just thinking of stuff, but no.
Were you and your sister close? I know you were close in your older age, but when you were younger, were you close? Like when you were growing up?
I was close to both my sisters at one time or another, but not that much.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing crazy.
Right.
Gotcha.
Nothing crazy close, no way.
All right, so I guess we'll jump ahead to your single woman working here, working for a living. You got 5 kids at home?
Yeah. not exactly the most desirable person on earth with 5 children to start with, huh?
Well, I mean,
But hey, I was still the same girl that voted most prettiest. So,
right.
hey, take advantage, right?
And you probably have some other good qualities, I think, besides your beautiful looks. Right?
Well, I don't know about the beautiful looks, but I think I was a good mother. My children tell me I was.
You were a good grandma, I know that.
A good grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still am, and
Right.
I'm always hoping to be. I love my grandkids and my kids.
Yeah, you definitely have a sense of, you get a good sense of just love, you know what I mean?
And
That's how
acceptance, yes,
Yeah.
I do. I know that.
That is a good word, acceptance.
Right.
So, what if you had to? Is there any like one lesson that you could tell your younger self that you would have liked to have told your younger self that you know now?
Well, I knew I would have loved to have gone to college, but I don't know what I would have
How you could
taken.
have did it,
I couldn't
or
do
how
it.
you would?
No, I couldn't have afforded it.
Yeah.
Really. And I.
What would you have liked to have studied?
What would I like to have studied? I would have liked to have been a teacher, I thought at the time.
Okay.
I thought I would be a good teacher. But
Yeah.
I didn't get to try that out.
Right. Well, you did kind of. You were a mother. I think they're teachers.
They're
at heart,
teachers
right?
always, aren't they?
Exactly.
They never get over being a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And I did have wonderful children. Look at them.
Yeah.
They're all very special, every one of them.
Yeah.
Your mom, look at what a great person she is. She bakes for our whole family every Sunday.
Right.
It comes. And
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. My stomach is telling me, my waistline is saying it's not so great.
well, but it tastes good.
You're right. Yeah, my taste bud, they're saying it's great.
It is, yeah. And she does everything good for all of us.
Oh, yeah.
She's a good person.
Yeah.
And
So you've had a great life. So
I think so, yeah.
let's get to where you meet Grandpa. So how did you meet Grandpa then?
Oh, I went to a Parents Without Partners after your grandpa left.
Okay.
Your mom, I have to tell you this cute thing your mom did. She went to show and tell, and she told him, well, my mom threw my dad's clothes out on the driveway.
Just what you wanted spread through the school system, right?
Her teacher called to tell me that. I was so embarrassed.
Oh, that's great.
That's my Donna. She's the one that swept up the floor and said, hey, Charlie, see anything you want there, boy? Right.
So you met Grandpa at a group?
Oh, a Parents Without Partner dance. Shelby, my friend, had a dance for Parents Without Partners.
Okay.
Because there were a few of us around, and I danced with your grandpa. And the next day, boy, I had a house full of flowers.
He was blowing you up, huh?
He was. He meant to have me.
Yeah.
He filled my home full of flowers every day. And I would call him and say, just wanted to thank you for the flowers. They're beautiful. And he would ask me out. And I would say, well, you know, I'm not dating because I have a big family and I'm too tired at night. If I went out, I'd just fall asleep. I'm so tired at night.
Was that just a blow off though? Or if it was somebody else, would you have said the same thing, or was it you just didn't want to date him?
Oh, that was the truth.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you weren't blowing him off.
I wasn't blowing him off. I was just really tired. Well, I did finally, after 3 times of him sending me flowers, I thanked him, and I was too embarrassed not to go.
Right.
So we went to the movies, And we sat
And you fell
side by
asleep?
side and we both fell asleep. We slept through the movie.
That's a classic. And now look
That
at you,
is-
60 years later, still doing it.
Still loving the
Still
man
falling
every
asleep next to each
day.
other.
Falling asleep together every night.
Right.
Right. We've had a good life together. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah.
I love him to the moon and back every day. He's so good to me.
Yeah, he is. He's great.
He does everything for me to help me all the time. He spoils me, really.
Yeah.
I'd
He's always
probably
been
be
good.
smarter if he didn't do as much as he does, but that's just him.
Right.
He is like that.
He likes to do it. He gets.
He's a giver.
Yeah, he's a
he
giver.
is.
That's great, though.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful.
And you guys have been married for how long?
It'll be 50 years this when's our anniversary? The 8th of
It's not. Is it April? No,
September.
I don't know. I know my parents was in May, and it's the 8th, so that's what scared me up a little bit.
Right. I can't think what the time is.
You know, it was interesting. The last lady who I did an interview with last week,
Right.
her birthday is the same day as yours.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name was Sally.
Sally
Yep.
who?
Sally Dix. And she was actually born, her birthday was on the same day as yours. And her birthday was her
December
senior year of high
7th.
school. Or no,
1934.
I think she was a freshman in high school on her birthday when Pearl Harbor happened.
Right. I remember when Pearl Harbor happened in my life. I remember my mother was crying by the window, and I thought, why is she crying on my birthday? That
Right.
was the day they bombed Pearl Harbor,
How old were you then?
December
Do you know?
7th.
So let's see.
So, yeah, I was born in 34, and
So you would have been like not that old then.
not that old.
6.
No. So, anyway, that was a sad day for our country.
Yeah.
It really was.
How did the war affect you? Did you guys? What do you remember about the war being that young? Did it affect the way you guys lived and stuff, or not?
Yeah,
really
I
too much?
still remember we lived at Dover at the mill village. Yeah. And how everybody cried that day, and I wondered why they were sad on my birthday. I was
Right.
that young and selfish that I thought,
Yeah.
what's wrong with them, you know? But yeah, it was a hard time. Everybody cried and felt sad. We got into the war that day.
Yeah. What is there any? Did you ever go to any concerts or anything like that when you were young, or any kind?
No.
Even when you're older, or any? Who was like your favorite? Did you have like a star that you? I remember when I was young, you loved Elvis.
Yeah,
Anybody else that you?
I loved Elvis, and I loved. I never got to see. Yeah, I did just see him on TV. That was about all I got to see Elvis.
Yeah.
And no, I didn't go to concerts much.
Nothing like that. Yeah.
No, because I had all those children, remember? Can't
Well, that
leave them
makes
by
sense, right?
themselves, right?
Right.
And we said I was a good mother, so I couldn't leave my kids to go there.
Right. That does make sense.
Right.
All right. So what else we got?
Oh, so I wanted to tell you the funny things that my children said. How about that?
Yeah.
Like my little grandson Joey, I took him to the church up, and we sat up in the balcony, and it was a Catholic church, and the priests were doing things with smoke and all that down, like a long ways down for you to look and see it. And we're watching that service, and there was smoke coming out of everything. And Joe pulled on my arm and he said, "Hey, Grandma, which one of those guys down there is Jesus?"
Well, I didn't know.
That was a thought a little boy wondering about.
I think I have another story about me with your friends telling dirty jokes. That was
Oh,
always-
if I can remember what that joke was. You used to tell
The one about
this.
the parakeet
Yeah, do you remember the joke?
popping a boner and falling off the swing?
That was my church friends.
Right. And I was young too, pretty like in 6th grade or
I
something.
know.
Yeah.
I know. You were a pill.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what you were thinking at the time.
Right. Oh, that is cute. I forgot about that. Right. And when Sal first met you in particular, he said, "Hi, little boy." And he said, "How old are you?" And you said, "I'm going to be free and 3 days."
Free on June 3rd.
Free on June 3rd.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So, what you had mentioned the cute thing that I said in church. Is there any other stories like that you have about your kids or about any grandkids or anything?
Yeah, there's a lot of. Todd was funny too. He came home late from school one day, and I said, "Todd, where have you been? You're late." And he said, he held his eyes, and his eyes filled up with tears. And I said, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "We better not let out a peep." And all I said was, "Peep."
Did he get in trouble for saying?
Oh, he did. They made him stay longer. And Mrs. Rubbo told the story on Todd that she saw him outside her kitchen window there, like this house, and she heard the kids playing out there. And Todd goes, "Now look what you did. You lawned my toes."
You what?
Lawned my toes.
What is that?
He ran something over his feet. That's where we get the saying, "Lawned my toes."
On my toes.
Right. And let's see, what other funny stories do I have? Oh, Trevor said, Grandpa, he was sweeping up the kitchen, with the broom, and Grandpa was pulling it in, and he said, "Here, Trevor, you missed something." He said, "Grandpa, don't tell me what to do."
How old was he? Young at that point?
He was about 6.
Okay.
And Grandpa said to him, he said, his little friends that were 5 were over here, and he said, 1 5-year-old, 2 5-year-olds, 3 5-year-olds. And Trevor said, "Grandpa, you're not a 5-year-old, you're an oddball." Oh. Let's see, what else did I know about funny stuff? I'm sure I'm going to forget some cute things.
I can think of a funny one.
What?
Well, the stories are all going to be about me, though, because I keep telling them, but...
Well, that's okay.
Yeah. Battle Creek.
Oh, the train?
The train ride and the smacking.
I smacked you.
The train ride, remember the lady was getting drunk with the guy?
I know. She just got on the train and y'all are all peeking around the seat and laughing like...
Because they kept kissing, and we thought it was so funny. They had just met.
Really?
And then me and Amy kept laughing about everything on this train trip, and you had enough of it. And then when Amy, she went on to open up the pretzels, and they fell all over the ground, and we were dying laughing, and you just smacked. I forget why you smacked
you for laughing.
Oh, I can only imagine taking 3 kids on a train with you, though. I'm sure you were.
I know. Donna appreciated that I took you guys. It gave her a good break that day, but
And that was fun for us, too.
yeah.
Mostly.
I had fun, too, mostly.
Till I got smacked upside the head.
Grandma's patience weren't too good in those days, were they?
I was fine. I don't remember it being traumatic. I remember it being even more funny. I think it just made me laugh
We went
more.
across the bridge for something. I remember that, to get food or something,
Okay, I don't really remember that one.
but I don't remember the rest of that.
Yeah,
Right.
because Grandpa was working on the big project there.
And
that's why
Grandpa remembered one time he said that Amy come by the fence out there, and she said to Max, "Get back in there a couple of little whiles."
a couple of little whiles.
Yeah. That was one of Amy's we remembered. And we're sad that we lost Amy.
Yeah,
Very sad.
yeah, that was hard.
But wherever she's at, I hope she's happy, because she wasn't so happy on this earth, was she ever?
Yeah.
Really
Actually,
wasn't.
sometimes I felt like she was happier than anybody, but
Well, that
sometimes.
depended what she had that day.
That's true, that's true. Let's see.
Okay, who else did funny stuff? Randy? Nope.
He doesn't do funny stuff. Totally serious all the time.
He is funny.
He's funny.
He is.
Yeah,
We're all funny a bit. We all like to laugh anyway.
yeah. That I have fond memories of coming here for Thanksgiving and Christmas over the years, and just how funny
Right.
it would just
Remember
be
we
funny,
used to
yeah.
have a table as big as long as the garage, and everybody sat
Yeah,
around it.
Once we outgrew the house, we had to move into the garage.
Into the garage, have our big meals together.
Yeah, because you used to always make the punch with the ice cream in it, the sherbet in it.
Oh, your
That was
favorite.
always my favorite.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love that.
Really. We didn't hurt for food ever, did we?
No.
Right.
So what else? You got anything
So
else
what
you'd
else?
like to
Let
talk
me-
about? Let's see.
Think of funny children's sayings.
What was so Nan and Papa? You mentioned their names already.
Right.
Oh, do you remember your grandparents' names?
You know, I never knew my grandparents.
Never.
Never.
They had all died before you were. Or
They
you
didn't
just-
live long in those days.
Right,
you
yeah.
know. They did. I don't remember my grandparents. I never met them.
I remember when I was young, I was like really lucky because how young my mom was and stuff. That when I was
Right.
in elementary school, I remember I had 5 great grandparents that were still alive.
I remember that too. You did.
Because it was Nan and Papa and Grandma Treadway and
And Grandpa Treadway
and,
and
I think I
who
forget
else?
what the Bartoses, Steve's.
Oh,
dad's-
Steve's dad and
or his parents were
His
both
parents.
alive when I was young.
yeah.
How about like if you what is the one thing that you want everybody if you had one thing that you could be known for that everybody thinks about when they think of you, what would it be, or what do you think it is?
I think it would be good mother. That would be the most important thing to
That's
me.
the most important thing.
And that's what if I see my children not doing well, I would think that was my fault,
Okay.
part of it. And Carrie said I shouldn't think that way, that none of it would be my fault. It was their own fault, the choices they made. But I can't help it. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, it makes
know.
sense. I mean,
Right. I feel like I failed them he had some really hard times, Carrie, but
yeah, and you kind of
they
have
were
to take
his
the good
own,
with the
and
bad,
it
right?
makes him upset because I blaming it on myself what he feels he did. You know, he tells us what he did. He was
right.
a naughty bum sometimes, and he's told us all that. Anyway,
so that was the most important thing to you most of your life, though, just being a good mother.
well, that was the thing I prided myself in trying to be. I was proud of that.
Yeah.
And I pride myself on being a Christian too. I am a Christian.
We didn't really talk about that. So, like, when you were growing up, did you live in a religious house growing up?
Well, right. We always went to church. My mom never went. She said she didn't have the clothes to go, but we had the most beautiful clothes that she sewed.
So why do you think she didn't go? Was she wasn't real religious?
She was, yeah. She
kind of
was and is.
Was.
She always was, yeah. She was a Christian.
Why do you think she didn't want to go to church?
My
then?
dad was a naughty boy. He was a sly drinker and stuff. He used to hide his booze and all that.
Yeah.
Because my mother wouldn't let him have it in the house.
Oh, okay.
Sal tells the story about when he first came to meet them, and my dad asked him if he would like a drink, and he said, sure. And he didn't know what was going on. My dad took him out the side door and up that hill into that little shed.
That's funny.
It is. And he took down some moonshine off the
good stuff, huh?
The good stuff, yeah. And his eyes would water down. He couldn't drink the booze much either. And Todd one time was playing with his little car on Mother's counter in the kitchen, and he goes, here comes Papa round the curve. And all of a sudden, he said he stops his car, he gets out, he opens the trunk, he gets out his booze, and he goes, whoa. My mother said, Ralph, you get it.
Busted.
And he told Todd, if you're going to do that, I'm not going to tell you no. I wish I would have told, but I can't think of it right now.
So, what about family? Did you have any other family down that lived near you guys when you were growing up?
My Aunt Myrtle, my mother's sister, lived in Shelby close. And when my dad lost his job and we were going to move to out of town, she let us come to live with her for a while.
Okay.
And we did in Shelby. She lived in town in Shelby. She sold Jewel Tea. Did you ever know what that was? She drove a truck with that Jewel Tea. People bought that. It was a brand, and it had, they had tea and all kinds of stuff that you could buy from them.
It was tea?
Tea. Jewel Tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so she would, sell it to people kind of like Avon in a way?
Yeah, kind of sell it like that.
Not to stores, but to actual people?
Right, to the public.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of that.
That was, I know. See, that was a thing you didn't know.
Right.
And Mott's grandmother, Susie McGinnis was her name.
Okay.
And she used to watch the soaps, and she had yellowed hair from smoking.
That was a common thing back then, huh?
It was. People didn't even get the filtered cigarettes.
Right. Yeah.
Smoke like chains. And she would come out the front door going, Clyde, when are you going to get that power back on?
It's funny the things you remember, huh?
I know.
Clyde, when are you going to get that power back on?
She'd let Mott and I have cigarettes, though, all the time. So.
How old were you at that age?
I was...
when you were a teenager?
Yeah, teenager. Right.
Smoking Grammy, huh?
Right. From Smoking Susie.
That's funny.
Right.
Did you smoke when you were an adult?
Sure. I smoked till I was 40. Didn't you know that?
Kind of, but
Yeah.
I didn't know when that you smoked
Well,
your whole
the
life. I
reason-
remember when you quit.
The reason we quit was because Grandpa got stabbed, remember? And
Yeah.
he was out smoking for all that time. And he said he just decided, hey, I haven't smoked all this time. I'm not going to start up again.
Right.
So he didn't. So then I had to quit. So I would quit and I'd hide him. And when he come in, I would put him in my drawer by my chair and this ashtray. And he'd usually go on by. But this one day, man, he stopped to talk. And I could see the smoke curling out of that drawer.
Oh, it was lit?
I thought it was going to burst into flame. I just had to go, oh, you caught me.
You know, it's funny, the whole time when I talked to Grandpa in his interview, I didn't even talk about him getting stabbed. That was kind of a big event that I think we skipped right over.
You did.
Did we talk about it?
I didn't hear you're
I
talking about him, but
yeah, I don't think we talked about it.
But he was in the bathroom, and a guy just he went to the bathroom after his work day at the mall at Hudson's.
Yeah, at Northland Mall, right?
Yeah, and
Or Southland.
and that guy slid right in the thing. He said, "Give me your money or I'll stab you," the guy said, or something like that. And so, well, you'd have to ask him. I forget all that.
Yeah, but it was like 5 times, right?
Yeah, he had big stick. And he come out of that stall and chased the guy across the floor, and the whole store went after the guy that stabbed him.
Did they get him?
And they got him.
Oh, that's good.
Right. Yeah, that should have been on Grandpa's story.
Yeah. So at that point, you quit smoking too then? Shortly after that?
Well, yeah, shortly after that I did.
Just kind of tapered off?
Right.
Figured.
Because I wasn't going to smoke in front of him anymore.
Yeah. So then
before
you
I
figured
burned our house down.
What about drinking? Did you ever do that?
No, I wasn't
really.
ever a drinker much.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about religion now, so let's go back to religion for a second. So, because you were pretty religious when I was growing up.
Right.
And you were pretty involved in the church and stuff.
I was a Sunday school teacher for children always, right?
Yep. And so how did you get so involved in the church?
Well, Pastor Chuck was our best friend in Carolyn.
Oh, so that was the big, when you got really involved?
When I got really involved. That's when they ousted him from Livonia Baptist Church. So we had our first service in our garage. And the rest is history. We did.
And that was actually shortly after that is when I lived here. Because I used to help Grandpa set up every Sunday at the mall.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good. So, right.
And help Carolyn. I was the Sunday school teacher.
I loved Carolyn. She was so funny.
I was her assistant.
Right. So, she was precious.
Yeah.
I loved them both. They still call us on birthdays and stuff. And
that's nice.
Keep in touch. And their little girls, we used to take them out to eat every Sunday. Grandpa had money galore for paying for dinners for people that he liked.
Right.
He did.
You don't go to church anymore, though. How come you don't?
Well, we went to the Presbyterian, and my neighbor's church closed too. The people just quit coming, and they were going broke. There wasn't money enough to keep the churches open. So, I couldn't change all that. So, when we went in on Sunday, we went in the side door, and we sat in those pews right by the side door. We would sit in there, and Grandpa would be asleep before we sat.
Yeah.
And that embarrassed me to death.
Oh, really?
And I said how rude that was to the speaker, How do you
Right.
think they feel?
Yeah, I don't think he could help it, though. He slept through most of our family events when I was younger. Well, he always worked so much.
He
that-
did. He
yeah.
was a hard worker.
Yeah.